Go to share your screen.
Yeah. Stop.
And then go to, yeah. Perfect. And then if you needed to stop the PowerPoint.
I didn't.
The little black pen.
Oh.
So everybody will drag that little kick back down. Yeah.
Or do, Chris. And mine out now. Yeah. Well. I haven't. It's been a while.
He's not usually in.
Rescue underway in Pennsylvania after 2 people fall in a tank full of chocolate.
Nothing's involved in
At Hershey's, Willy Wonka, the chocolate factory, must be.
And then,
Oh my
oh,
gosh,
okay.
that's too funny.
Yeah, but English.
Maybe I do.
Mine.
Oh, M&M factory. My sister.
Are we amped up and ready to roll?
Yes, we have 2 minutes. We could probably start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Good.
Well, I wouldn't want anybody to miss that spectacular. We got a flyover tonight.
Yeah.
Too much insulation in the roof here.
Tell them before the village when they do the.
Right?
When you do the flyover for, at the stadium, we like go running out, okay, but by the time you hear it, it's too late. It's already gone.
Yeah, sometimes you don't hear them, but like,
Yeah.
they look like it.
I have a picture, I caught it, like, it was going,
I had an old friend that flew like the old jets.
oh, really?
And I was a plain toting fan. Advertising guy. Every radio.
So you just leave with
Listen to that.
Yes.
The brakes on. Hit 500 feet back, he's down.
Oh,
He came across the state.
All right, it's 4:30, guys.
what's the
He
state?
was known to do. He got in trouble. Okay, we'd like to call the June 9th, 2022 Development Commission to order. As is our procedure, we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States. To the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay, we have no changes to make in the agenda. We'll call case number 1, Z02 009 3336 East Fifth Avenue.
Developed in the R4 residential district. The requested N manufacturing district will permit unspecified manufacturing uses. Note, the zoning code includes the following provisions for manufacturing uses adjacent to residential uses. More productional uses listed in 3363.09 through more productional uses to 3363.16 are only in manufacturing districts shall not be located within less than 600 feet from the boundaries of any residential or apartment residential district, except as otherwise provided in 3311.28 requirements. And the open storage of materials other than junk, waste products, salvage, or wrecked automobiles may be permitted in the end manufacturing district when located at least 100 feet from any residential or part residential district and at least 30 feet from any street right-of-way line and not less than 20 feet from other lot lines, except that the storage of livestock feed, coal, and similar materials should not be closer than 300 feet from any residential and apartment residential districts and shall be handled so as to control dust effectively. The north of the site is a multi-unit residential development in the AR1 district. The south is a towing company and car lot in the M manufacturing district. To the east, across Dillsville Road, warehouses in the M manufacturing district. And to the west is a multi-unit residential development in the R4 residential district. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Port Columbus Joint Economic Development Strategy, which recommends residential land uses at this location. And the East Columbus Neighborhood Plan, which recommends medium to high density mixed residential land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the East Columbus Civic Association, whose recommendation is for approval. The requested M manufacturing district will allow an industrial development that is compatible with development standards of adjacent industrial uses. While the proposal is inconsistent with the residential land use recommendations of the Port Columbus Joint Economic Development Strategy and the East Columbus Neighborhood Plan, Planning Division staff is supportive of the non-residential uses at this location, recognizing that East Fifth Avenue and Stills Road are both commercial mixed-use corridors. Therefore, City Department's recommendation is for approval, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Okay, Dan, traffic,
No traffic issues.
and is Kathy, do you know if she has any input on any of these?
She was supposed to be here tonight, but this, site, I believe, is less than an acre and would not be.
Okay,
Oh, actually,
Three,
it's
three.
3.45, so there will be a parkland dedication ordinance requirement at the time of site development,
all right,
but she didn't have any issues.
all right. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Are there any speakers regarding case number 1 tonight besides the applicant? Okay, please come forward to the desk. Is there anything you'd like to add to what the staff has presented for our consideration?
Besides, this is an opportunity to bring more jobs to the area. That would be the only thing that I would add.
Why don't you both give your names for the record,
Yes, Nia Harrington.
Kende Tolu.
okay? Okay, it's a jobs issue. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, you were approved by the East Columbus Civic Association. What actually are going to be your uses on that site?
We currently manufacture lights and basically LED lighting products and solar products. So that
You do it inside a structure?
we do have current light on the structure that's down the street, and so now expanding, we just need to that site to that way.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, please call the roll.
Marty Anderson,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
I support the use, but I'm going to vote no because it is a deviation from the plan and it is an intrusion onto the residential part of that section.
John Amberson,
Yes.
Diane Woodward,
Yes.
Denise Keys Franklin. Yes. And Chair Fitzpatrick.
And I will vote yes. So you are approved. And good luck at your next adventure with City Council.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll call case number 2, Z22-019, 3136 South High Street.
Site consists of one parcel developed with an office use in the R2 residential district as the result of rezoning 783 effective 7/21/1958. The site is also subject to the South High Street Regional Commercial Overlay. The requested C3 commercial district will conform the existing office use and also permits community scale commercial uses. North of the site is auto sales in the LC4 limited commercial district. South and west of the site is a self-storage facility in the LN2 limited manufacturing district. East of the site is a religious facility and a drive-in theater in the C4 commercial district. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Scioto Southland Plan, which recommends office land uses at this location. The plan also includes early adoption of the Columbus Citywide Planning Policy Design Guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the Far South Columbus Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The requested C3 commercial district will permit community scale commercial uses, including office uses at this location. The request is consistent with the Scioto Southland Plan's land use recommendation and the surrounding zoning pattern along this portion of South High Street, and does not represent addition of incompatible use to the area, and therefore city department's recommended approval.
Okay. Dan, any traffic issues here?
The applicant has agreed to include a cross-access commitment. A right-of-way requirement that exemption requested in this application. It's in the city council.
Right, this not yet in any text form. Okay. And Kathy, any comments from you for this half-acre piece of property?
No comments from recreation.
Okay, is the applicant here for case number 2? Yes. Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding application number 2? Okay, please come forward, give us your name and let us know if there's anything that you want to add to the staff's report.
It's Vicki Rathburn. The only thing I wanted to make comment, the picture, we have since last year paved the parking lot, so that overview shows it was gravel originally. We've been there 11 years, so it's not changing from the use. It's an attorney's office building, so nothing's changing. We just needed some new signage. A drunk driver wiped out our sign. And so we need more different signage, and that didn't work in the residential.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Oh, and I was going, the survey, our surveyor is due next Wednesday for the right of way.
And you you have to do some paperwork before you go forward to city council
Yes.
with the commitments that Dan mentioned. Okay, please call the roll.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Don Engerson,
Yes.
Pam LeBlanc,
Yes.
Denise Keys-Shanklin.
Yes.
Marty Anderson,
Yes.
and Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved. Okay, case number 3, Z22-023, 2270 Williams Road.
6.24 acre site consists of 2 parcels located on the north side of Williams Road. The larger 5.83 acre parcel zoned LM2, Limited Manufacturing District, is undeveloped except for a communication satellite dish on Williams Road, which will be split from the site. A smaller 0.36 acre parcel zoned C2 Commercial District contains an existing single unit dwelling, which will be removed. The requested rezoning to LM-2, Limited Manufacturing District, proposes development of warehouse office uses. The north is a single unit dwelling in the RRR restrictive rural residential district. The south are truck rental facilities and industrial uses within the boundaries of the city of Obetz. To the east are single unit dwellings in the religious facility in the restricted rural residential district and in the C2 commercial district. To the west is a canine training facility in the restricted rural residential district. The site is within the planning boundaries of the South Allen Creek neighborhood plan, which recommends office and retail commercial land uses at this location. Plan also includes the adoption of Columbus citywide planning policies, design guidelines. A concurrent CV 22-027 has been filed and includes variances to reduce the minimum separation of less objectionable manufacturing uses from a residential district from 25 feet to 10 feet. Permit maneuvering across parcel lines, permit parking spaces of less than 20 feet of maneuvering area, to eliminate the required striping and marking for parking spaces which are on unimproved surfaces. Required surface parking is to allow parking, loading, and stacking spaces on unimproved surfaces. To reduce the minimum number of parking spaces required, 92 to 63. To allow open and unenclosed storage of materials and equipment in the side yard. To reduce the minimum separation of open storage of materials from residential district, 100 feet to 5 feet. And lot lines from 20 feet to 5 feet. That request will be heard by City Council, will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The site is located within the boundaries of the far south Columbus Area Commission, whose recommendation was not been received at the time this report was finalized. However, I forgot to mention in your supplemental packet, you will find the recommendation, which was for approval. Limitation text commits to a site plan and includes development standards addressing building and parking setbacks, access landscaping, building design, and graphic provisions. At the time the report was finalized, the traffic access study is still in progress, and there may be a need for additional commitments for the site to implement off-site improvements for access changes based on the results of the approved traffic access study, which could result in site plan revisions. Based on this, staff's recommendation is for conditional approval. The requested LM Limited Manufacturing District will permit the development of warehouse and offices at this location. The proposed use is not considered to be an introduction of an incompatible use and is generally consistent with the development pattern in the surrounding area. Planning Division staff are supportive of the proposal and notes that the site plan includes a pedestrian walkway connecting the Williams Road sidewalk to the warehouse and provides additional landscaping to buffer the property to the east, consistent with CCP2 guidelines. Recommendation will be updated to approval upon the approved traffic access study with necessary commitments added to the limitation text and revision of the site plan as required by the Division of Traffic Management.
Okay, is the applicant here? Forward. Is there anyone to speak regarding case number 3? Yes.
Right on the edge of that property, and I just think what that would mean for my house. I live small daughter, 2 dogs that just roam, that lot's been empty, right up there. I didn't know.
Well,
Right there, that long street right there with those 2 buildings. is my-
at the top of the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And, all right, let's listen to anything that's added here. Maybe you want to move a little forward, closer. If you have any further questions, we'll have you come up to the microphone. Okay, is there anything you fellows would like to add to what the staff's presentation?
Yes, thank you, Chair Fitzpatrick and members of the commission. My name is Eric Zartman, attorney for the applicant. This is Brad Woltz, representative for the applicant. As you heard in the presentation, this property is already zoned LM2. There are not too many commitments under the underlying zoning district. However, there are a few limitations. Most important to us is that one of the limitations in the existing zoning district is that all loading and transport activity needs to happen in the rear of the property, which would be adjacent to this neighbor's yard. So the main purpose of this application was to eliminate that restriction so that our transportation activities can happen on the side of the building. Now, in addition to that, we worked with the area commission, multiple meetings with the zoning committee. We revised the plan accordingly to the point where they voted unanimous approval. We're making commitments to landscaping, architecture, frontage improvements, and also the landscape in accordance with C2P2 design standards, so the planning department is also in support. What this business does is they rent out construction equipment. So the primary purpose of the warehouse in the back is to store construction equipment inside. They have 4 trucks in their business that will come and pick up the trucks and then go deliver them somewhere else. So that's the primary activity of the building in the back. The building in the front is intended to be an incubator for small businesses that either want to do manufacturing or office uses until they grow out of that space. But the primary purpose is the manufacturing transportation use for the equipment, rental equipment inside. I do think this is actually a positive for the neighbor that is here. Again, we're getting rid of the limitation that only allows transportation uses on the north side and moving that to the side. So it's any sort of trucks in and out would actually be further away from their property. Again, we're happy to have support from the planning department and unanimous support from the area commission, and we would appreciate your support here tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
All right. Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Okay, let's let the neighbor come up and have a chance, and then we'll call you back. Give us your name for the record and tell us you understand what you just heard?
My name is Cassandra Christensen, and I'm not 100% sure. I don't know how these things work. I'm sorry. But I see the building that's right on my property, and it makes me worried for my dogs and my small child with the warehouse being so close to my house.
All right, I'll tell you what my take on it
Yes,
is. The fact that they're loading and unloading and all that activity is happening on the sidewalls rather than the rear actually lives up to the spirit of what that previous directive was, to keep the activity off the front of Williams Road, whatever road this use might be. So I think they're living up to the spirit, but they abut your property. So I would ask myself, I would ask that the applicant put an opaque fence 6 feet high across 100 feet of the back of the property, centered on your back, the middle of the back of your house, so that you have a noise barrier and a visual barrier. I'm sure they'll have their own security fence there anyway, but that would at least give you a backdrop that they're not going to intrude on you and kind of lean over you. All right, let me bring those folks back up here and see if they're amenable to that. Mike, it looks like they're paid all the way around.
Chair, could we also hear from Daniel Moorhead on traffic?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think she needs a fence there, people know.
Daniel Moorhead did give input on the pending traffic.
Oh, yeah, Dan, we've got a long approach to it. We get to it eventually, but we want to get the lay of the land here.
So as Joe mentioned, there is a pending traffic access study for the site. The major unresolved issue is whether or not lanes would be required to be constructed on the road at the access point. The study they have submitted that's under review says they would not be required, but we would still, need to, verify. Potentially that could change the thing.
Okay. John, beside here, mentioned that it looks like your site plan offers the roadway to the rear offers passage for trucks going to each side of the building.
Yes.
How often will that occur in the course of a day's activity? Anyway, what kind of hours would that be a disruption to the next?
So our normal business hours would be 7:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. There may be an occasion for, a little earlier or a little later, but it's pretty rare in our current operation. We have 2 semi-tractors and 2 smaller light-duty trucks with trailers that normally, the way we've designed the site is to come in from Williams Road, access to the east, and circle around the building to the west, and then exit out that way. So we have the entire area around the building is actually enclosed by a fence. The front portion adjacent to the building actually has, I think, an 8 or 10 foot tall masonry screen wall that would screen the front, the south portion. Then the other 3 sides are all enclosed with what I expect to be a chain link fence with some type of, and it hasn't been specified yet, but some lattice work or fabric to be opaque and less obtrusive to the neighbors.
Do you know how wide that piece of property is at the rear?
Don't know if we have that dimension off the top of our head. I believe we're 10 foot off of the property line with the fence.
Okay,
It's a 300, it's 465 feet wide.
465 feet property. All right, and you've got, actually, there's another home that is real close. So I would say, to be realistic, a 6 foot high opaque fence that would run from your northwest corner to the alignment with your east wall. And that would beat down the noise transfer better than anything else. And at 6 feet high, you're not gonna see the the actual trucks.
Yeah, and our plan includes that fence around the entire three sides of the building.
Okay, now that's a chain link fence?
That's what that's what we've talked about at this point in the planning, yes.
What I'm suggesting is you stop the chain link fence
Oh,
and install an opaque fence, board on board type fence, running from your property, your building line at the east wall, across the back of the property, about 300 feet, 320 feet, in order to echo the noise created by the trucks, so that it doesn't go and wipe out a patio or an activity in the backyard. It just negates it.
We would add that limitation. For
Okay.
the,
I mean, I don't think it needs to be brick and stone with ornate lights on it, but just a plain sound barrier, 6 feet high. Okay.
And with respect to Dan, we'll add that commitment, whatever the traffic's determination on whatever turn lane is needed, we'll do that. Our initial study has shown, or from our results, we believe there will not be that requirement, but if the traffic department determines that there is a requirement for that, we'll absolutely do it and put the driveway in accordance with their specifications.
Okay. You got all that, didn't you, Shannon?
Yeah, 6 foot high, board on board fence, along
North property.
north property line,
From the northwest corner to a point
Could we have
that
the,
intersects with the east wall of the new building, the proposed building.
could we have the option for a brick fence, a brick if we want?
Yeah. Yeah,
He's
Brick?
he does masonry.
brick could be better because it's got more mass. Yeah, you're gonna be running a truck with a nice sized motor right past the bedroom windows. Okay, we'll leave it up to you, the brick or other. But, okay. And the commitments also for the traffic requests. Okay, I need a motion for those two conditions to be added to this application. So all those in favor? Please call the roll.
John Ingwerson,
Yeah.
Ken Mokwe,
Yes.
Denise Keys Shanklin,
Yes.
Marty Anderson,
The staff already knows, I just don't believe there's conditional approval, so Shannon, no, but I just as soon have the traffic study first.
Maria Conroy,
I mean, yes, I know your, that pond, that retention is gonna have to be huge, because I train at that dog place and but you're always underwater.
Yep.
and Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, so you are approved.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, case number 4 is C21-065, 5100 East Bright Road.
Before I begin, please see the emails from our planning division and traffic management of the supplemental packet. The 36.16 acre site consists of 8 undeveloped parcels in the NG Neighborhood General, NC Neighborhood Center, and NE Neighborhood Edge districts, and is partially located within the floodplain. Requested LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District will allow a multi-unit residential development of 234 units on 13.97 acres. Subarea A. The requested LR2 Limited Residential District will allow a single unit residential subdivision on 22.19 acres, subarea B. North, east, and south of the site is undeveloped land in the NG Neighborhood General, NC Neighborhood Center, and NE Neighborhood Edge districts. West of the site is a mix of single unit dwellings in the R Rural District in Columbus and Madison Township, a contractor's office and storage in the LM Linear Manufacturing District, and warehouse and fitness uses in the SCPD Select Commercial Plan District in Madison Township. Additionally, pending rezoning Z22-010 for a multi-unit residential development in the LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District It's proposed to the west of the site across Ebert Road. The site is located within the planning area of the southeast land use plan, which recommends low-density mixed residential, low to medium-density residential, and private open space land uses at this location. The plan includes adoption of the Columbus Citywide Planning Policy Design Guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the Greater Southeast Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The limitation text commits to a maximum number of apartment units, 234, traffic access, improvements, street trees, landscaping, open space, and the following for the apartment development: parking lot location, building orientation, building elevation features, and amenities. Traffic impact study for the application is pending review by the Division of Traffic Management, Franklin County Engineer's Office, and City of Brookport. Additional commitments may be needed based on the results of the approved traffic impact study. There's also a possibility for revisions of the limitation text regarding the proposed landscaping and mounting along the access to Ebert Road. The proposed LARLD Limited Apartment Residential District and LR2 Limited Residential District will permit multi-unit and single-unit residential development at this location. The proposed districts, their permitted uses, and their allowable densities are generally consistent with the Southeast Land Use Plan's recommendation and are supportable by the planning staff division. Since this report was written, planning division has moved to full support of the proposed districts. The traffic impact study has yet to be finalized, and there are some concerns regarding the landscaping mounting at the access point to Ebert Road. The State Department's recommendation will be updated to approval upon resolution of those concerns and the approval of the pending traffic impact study. So right now we're at this approval. And if you have further questions about traffic comments, Mr. Moorhead is more than happy to.
Well, let's give him the microphone, take it away.
Jen mentioned we're on the third submittal of the study for this site. We have 3 different jurisdictions. Columbus perspective, the commitment for the turn lane at the access point, that's in the text. We're not anticipating any other commitments coming from Franklin County. City of Groveport, waiting the approval of the study. You know, there's always a slim chance something could come up, but at this point, nothing specifics have been shared with us. We discussed regarding that. In regard to the landscaping and mounding, that's something that mounding has been a renewed emphasis for us to make sure that it doesn't encroach into intersection sight lines. And so that would just be a minor provision in the text. That's potentially something that we can also work out subdivision plat for sub area B. Just had to reach clarity on.
Okay, but basically, this is the traditional, you're gonna have Jeff give you a blank check and you can fill out whatever you want to put in it. He has to go with it or it's thumbs down.
Works for us.
Kathy, do you have anything to offer? Okay, Jeff is here. Is there anybody here to speak regarding this application? No one is here. Jeff, do you have any?
Jeffrey O'Brown, attorney for the applicant. As staff has indicated, we are 99% there in terms of the traffic. It's our third revision in there. So I would ask that you would consider that in terms of your vote. It's a redo of a zoning that was done in 2003. We're kind of rearranging the decks or the chairs on the deck. And staff, from the planning perspective, is in favor of our request now, and so is the area commission.
Okay, any comments or questions up here?
I don't know that I've seen a stranger,
Are you gonna have a bowling alley along that?
I think that's a very long, narrow detention area.
Thought maybe it was so you could get a huge sign because you have a lot of frontage on your back.
Well, unfortunately, the 33 is at the bottom, so the little neck is going the wrong direction.
Okay. Good question. All right, please call the roll.
I'm on John Ingwerson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pam McQuay?
So, Tim, you say you still disapproval
Just because of the traffic.
because of the traffic?
Right. Once the traffic study is approved. we'll update our- As long as the commitments are in the text and blank check is available.
That's a signature.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go with Ms. Anderson here with, there are so many pending issues here, so in order not to say yes on, I'm gonna abstain.
Denise Key Shanklin?
No.
Marty Anderson?
My same soft no, it's not a strong no, it's just premature.
Maria Conroy?
Yes.
And Chair Fitzpatrick?
Yes, so you've got a tight approval and some work to do, and don't forget to bring that blank check for the next.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will now have case number 5. Z22-010, 5141 Ebright Road.
So across the street. The 15.99 acre site consists of one parcel developed with a single unit dwelling and associated farm buildings zoned in the R rural district. The requested LARLD limited apartment residential district will permit the construction of a multi-unit residential development with up to 198 dwelling units. To the north of the site is a single unit dwelling located in Madison Township. To the south is a self-storage facility located in Madison Township and a single unit dwelling in the R rural district. To the east, across Ebright Road, is undeveloped land in the NG Neighborhood General District, which is pending zoning to the LR2 Limited Residential District, rezoning application 21-065. To the west is Three Creeks Park, located in the R Rural District. The site is located in the southeast land use plan, which recommends several land uses for the site, including low density, low medium density residential and open space. Area specific policy number 1 regarding agricultural land uses also applies, in addition to Columbus citywide planning policy design guidelines. The limitation text establishes permitted uses and supplemental development standards that address maximum number of units, 198, setbacks, site access, and landscaping. The text includes a commitment to a site plan which reflects a new public sidewalk along the site frontage, landscaping, and parking lot expansion areas to provide additional parking. The site is located within the Greater Southeast Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. And also, I forgot to mention in your supplemental packet, you'll find an updated limitation text that's including a turn lane. At the time of writing this, staff's recommendation was conditional approval. We can now move to approval. The requested LARLD apartment residential district will allow a multi-unit residential development. The Southeast Land Use Plan recommends low density residential, low medium density residential, and open space at this location with an area specific policy regarding agricultural land. The ASP interprets use recommendations generally and may consider support for higher densities if proposals demonstrate a high level of design, natural resource preservation, or parkland dedication. Planning Division staff notes that the density of 12.38 dwelling units and acres clustered towards the eastern portion of the site includes significant open space provision and preserves sensitive wetland and floodplain areas consistent with ASP and C2P2 guidelines, as well as previously received building elevations that are consistent with C2P2. At the time of finalizing this report, the required access study was still pending by review by Division of Traffic Management, and Planning Division staff had issues regarding landscaping. Since writing this, the limitation text now incorporates the traffic turn lane commitment, and planning is now in full support with the understanding that the adjacent open space on the parcel will be donated to Columbus Recs and Parks or Metro Parks. And the open space on the development portion will include benches, additional landscaping, and pedestrian connections consistent with C2P2 open space guidelines. Thanks.
Okay, any questions, Okay, Dan, traffic?
Sierra mentioned the traffic access studies and this application. The applicant. Complete a review, one other thing would be the location of the access point to move a little bit. The applicant is also committed to that location is subject to.
Everybody's amenable to that. Okay, Kathy?
Just for clarification, Recreation Parks is thrilled to take the property from parkland. No need to clarify that. So just in case there was any question whatsoever. clear it up right now.
That'd be, the word is thrilled?
The word is thrilled.
Thrilled, okay. That's the first time in 20 years I've heard the word thrilled used.
Those are the comments for Recreation Parks.
Okay, I'd say that's somewhat positive, okay. Do you have anything to add to the staff's presentation?
David Hodge, attorney for the applicant, and I would just note so that everyone on the Development Commission remembers, this is the second month in a row that I'm here with an application where there's the creation of a pretty substantial park. So remember that when I'm in here with one that I'm skating. It's a great project in a new abatement area, providing some workforce housing, worked hard with planning, worked hard with recreation and parks. You can see that the open space there at this other, sort of irregularly shaped parcel is going to go into a contribution either to Rec and Parks or Metro Parks. It'll be programmed, as you see there, with a trail that kind of goes up there to the north. The Black Lake Trail is along the north side of this property. I don't know whether we're going to be able to connect to that because there's a pretty significant grade differential, but that trail comes down, meanders through the site on out to the frontage at Ebright Road. It is here, of course, with the city staff recommendation of approval, unanimous approval of the Greater Southeast Area Commission. And we would respectfully request your approval so we can go on to city council with a table run.
Did you get Parks and Recreation's naming rights?
That's 8% park.
For the owner of the park? With the park? Boys Park.
Boys?
Recreation Parks will take over the place. There you go.
I don't know, the trail's named Meandering. Is there a meandering then?
Well, that's the Fitzpatrick Trail.
Oh, it's got changeable letters. It'd be a daily adjustment. Okay, any other questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Do we need to incorporate the revised text?
Is there a date on that text?
6.
June 6th. All right, motion to approve the adjusted June 6th text and didn't chase the site plan at all?
No.
Okay, June 6th test. Give me a motion. Second. All those in favor?
Right.
Please call the roll.
Dan McQuay,
Yes.
Denise Keith Shanklin,
Yes.
Marty Anderson,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
and Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Oh, and did I call John? John
Yes,
Nicholson?
but yeah,
Sorry,
sorry.
not very good at this.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along to case number 6, Z22-031, 2535 Lindball Road.
Site consists of a single unit dwelling in the LR2 limited residential district. Current LR2 district prohibits the installation of above ground swimming pools. Requested R2 residential district will allow an above ground swimming pool as permitted in an unrestricted R2 district. North, south, and east of the site are single unit dwellings in the R2 limited residential district. West of the site is undeveloped land in the manufacturing district. The site is within the Westland area plan, which recommends residential 3 to 5 units per acre at this location. Plan includes early adoption of the C2P2 planning policy design guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the Westland Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The requested R2 residential district will permit an above-ground swimming pool as an accessory use to the existing single-unit dwelling. The unrestricted R2 district is supported as the existing principal use. The single-unit dwelling will remain while the accessory uses and structures, such as an above-ground pool, will be regulated by the R2 district's development standards, and therefore city department's recommendations for approval.
Okay, is anyone here First of all, any questions for the staff? Dan, what do you got to say? I know you're going to unload them.
No traffic issues.
None.
Are you sure?
Parking for the lifeguard?
Kathy, are you thrilled to say anything about this application?
This is great. Support the road.
Okay. Is anyone here to speak regarding this application tonight? We have one speaker. Is the applicant here?
Sure.
Pardon me?
She is not.
Well, step up and, do you represent her?
Yes.
Okay. Step up and give us your name at the desk here and tell us what's on your mind.
My name is John Hennis. I am Hannah's boyfriend. We just essentially want to put in a pool. It's pretty straightforward, as I'm sure you all know.
Okay. All right, any questions? Comments? Pretty simple. Please call the roll.
Denise P. Shanklin,
Yeah.
Marty Anderson,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Ingwerson,
Yes.
Taya Milquet,
Yes.
and Chair Fitzpatrick.
You're a good boyfriend. It's a 6-0. You ran the table.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Case number 7. Z22-006-1549 Freebus Avenue.
1.3 acre, 36 acre site consists of one parcel developed with a 3,623 square foot commercial/office building and 15,692 square feet used as self-storage in the C3 commercial district. The requested LM limited manufacturing district will permit the development of an additional self-storage building, which is not permitted in the C3 commercial district. The north, south, east, and east of the site are single-unit dwellings in the R2 residential district. To the west of the site are commercial retail uses in the C3 commercial district and a production machine shop in the LC4 limited commercial district. Sites within the planning boundaries of the south side plan, which recommends neighborhood commercial land uses at this location, and is characterized as global centers of economic activity containing smaller scale retail, office, or institutional uses. Plan includes the adoption of Columbus citywide planning policies, design guidelines. Area council variance CV 22004 has been filed to permit the construction of an additional 7,800 square foot self-storage building behind the existing structure on the southeast portion of the parcel. Included are variances to reduce the minimum number of parking spaces required, 10 required, 8 provided. To reduce the minimum number of loading spaces required from 1 to 0. Building setback line reduction from 40 feet to 10 feet. And permit the existing building to encroach into the area between the building line and the street by 30 feet. And a reduced minimum distance to a residential district from 25 feet to 3 feet. That request will be heard by City Council and will not be considered at this Development Commission meeting. The site is located within the boundaries of the Columbus Southside Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. Except for variances included in the concurrent council variance, the limitation text includes use restrictions, screening requirements by adding slats to the existing 6-foot chain link fence bordering the east and south property line, and states that development shall be in accordance with the applicable chapters of the zoning code. City Department's recommendation for approval as a requested LM limited manufacturing district will permit the development of a self-storage building. Staff recognizes the existing commercial/office component of this location, which is consistent with the south side plan and its recommendation of neighborhood commercial land uses at this location. Proposed use is not considered to be an introduction of an incompatible use to the surrounding area and would bring existing storage space into conformance. Planning Division staff notes that the site plan relocates the parking to the rear of the building and is consistent with C2P2 design guidelines. Planning Division staff also encourages further landscaping and mounding along the east and south property lines of the buffer between the surrounding residential uses, but it's not conditioned to support on this purpose. I don't think any questions.
Questions? Dan, traffic?
All traffic issues have been resolved.
Wow. I'm thrilled. Captain?
No recreation.
Okay, is anyone here to speak regarding this application? Connie, the floor is yours. Anything you want to add?
I'm fine.
You're fine?
Yes.
Are you thrilled?
I'm thrilled.
Okay.
Is this a new, Bonnie, is this a new owner that's gonna redevelop this, or?
I'm not sure how long they've owned it, but that's what they do. They buy it and then try to keep things vibrant and then do some remodeling or.
Yeah, I worked on a property next to it, so pretty challenged when it was a scrapyard.
Yes, yeah, and they also bought a property adjacent to it that's now zoned residential.
Right, okay.
Cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can somebody on staff explain the zoning violations and whether or not those still exist?
Yeah, pardon me, I forgot to mention that. So the last correspondence I have with code enforcement is that an active violation still exists on the property as of the last correspondence, which is on June 1st. From what I've understood, there's been several violations on this property in the past, but they have been pretty good at working with the city and getting those violations up to code. As far as this current active violation, notice was sent after the inspection on the 31st of May, and the notice has been posted to the property owner. That's as far as I know.
What is actually happening on that site?
As far as I know, I didn't get the exact code enforcement violation. There is something in the supplemental packet that may have more information based on that. I don't know if it necessarily outlines.
It's the second page.
All right, so parking and keeping inoperable motor vehicles on the property.
Here. Oh, okay. Inoperable zoning clearance, warehousing to exterior storage of junk and signage.
Is this something that will be cleaned up?
In fact, I don't know about the one that was sent out just recently, but of course I found that out when I took this on. What's happening is that a lot of the things that had been stored there before had been, basically, they've been trying to clean up. They've been talking to the zoning inspector, basically saying that we are trying to get this taken care of with zoning and with the addition of the improvements so that there will not be any outdoor storage. Some of the, I think the first one was a truck or something that was stored outside. And they've been trying to get the owner to get that out of there. So their goal by hiring me to do this rezoning is to clear this site up and make it very functional and influence with the code.
Well, when I read what the list here is, what you might be subject to $1,000 fine and 180 days in jail, or 180 days in jail, or now you get to do that for the, no. They should probably clean that up.
They've got about, on this Google Earth, there's about 5 or 6 cars left, but that whole lot was full. Mike Shannon and I looked at that and just went, oh, boy.
It's been a process.
And you'd have to get those cars out of there in order to carry out your plan.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yes.
So are you rezoning it from commercial to industrial? Because we're not quite sure. Neighbor notified me, we didn't receive any notification. So what are you actually doing with the property?
Well, it has limitations. The L in that LM is limitations that are written in the text and enforceable, just like the zoning violation was enforceable, to keep the landowner in line to carry out all the things that are promised. That's where that comes from. And I think the intended use is going to undoubtedly clean up what's there, because they now have an approval to go forward with enclosing a building and putting anything that's unsightly inside the building and not just out up on concrete blocks. Did I say that right, Kate?
Yeah, yes, in fact, and I did, when I attended Desperate Park, which we attended twice, and then also Columbus Southside Area Commission, we explained that the rezoning is basically just to be able to have the storage on site, because prior to this, it had not even been permitted. So, and then to basically make certain it's inside and in accordance. We have in our limitation text eliminated all types of other manufacturing or objectionable uses. Those are not permitted.
Okay, so there's no manufacturing here. This is not an industrial. No. No, this is a.
Squeeze in between the house.
This is a one way in and no way out if you come in with a semi. Okay.
That was our concern.
storage, inside storage was fine. A lot of people didn't.
Well, I think this is step one to cleaning up that site and giving it a better purpose, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Connie, could I ask you, does your client plan to adopt the recommended buffer?
Yeah, in fact, we even updated the site plan, which you have there, with, you'll see a 5-foot border along the area where the aisleway is, because we added that in addition to the fence, so that we could have a 5-foot landscape buffer along the residential areas.
So we can expect that zoning violations will be cleared up and that planning's recommended buffer will be adopted or already has been adopted.
It's actually make that part of the motion, because I think it was not part of the requirement, but we've already put that in our site.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, so we do need, do you have a comment? Okay, do we need to add that sentence to the motion?
It's along the east, the 5-foot buffer,
Let me get my
Get- wanna
bearings.
get the-
It's along the east and the south,
east and south. Okay.
and it's on the site plan, so you could say in accordance with the site.
In accordance with the site plan dated 5/10/22. Okay, so that's already in the packet. We don't need to add a motion to.
Yeah, we'll just have the text specify that
Okay.
landscaping will be provided.
All right, please call the roll.
Marty Anderson,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
John Ingwerson,
Yes.
Pam McQuay,
Yes.
Denise Keith Shanklin,
Yes.
and Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you are approved.
Thank you very much.
Okay, case number 7. Z22-015-3301 Morse Road.
In your supplemental packet, you'll see a recommendation form from the Northeast Area Commission for approval. The site consists of 2 parcels, each developed with a single unit dwelling in the AR12 apartment residential district as a result of annexation from 1969 and subject to the Morse Road Regional Commercial Overlay. The applicant is requesting a CPD commercial plan development district to permit redevelopment of the site with a 4,300 square foot apartment building for 4,300 square foot commercial building containing 1,700 square feet of retail and 2,600 square feet of eating and drinking establishment uses. North of the site are office and commercial uses in the C3 commercial district and C commercial district in London Township. South of the site are single unit dwellings in the R2 residential district. East of the site is a multi-unit residential development in the AR20 apartment residential district. West of the site is a single unit dwelling in the R2 residential district and a car wash facility in the CPD commercial plan development district. The site is within the boundaries of the Northeast Area Plan, which recommends high-density residential land uses for this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Northeast Area Commission, whose recommendation is for approval. The CPD text includes use restrictions and supplemental development standards that address building and parking setbacks, traffic access, street trees, landscaping, and building materials. Included in the text are code modifications to the building and parking setbacks along Morse Road. Additionally, the text includes a commitment to develop and landscape the site in accordance with the submitted site plan. The requested CPD commercial plan development district permits the redevelopment of the site with a 4,300 square foot apartment building. Saying that. Sorry, 4,300 square foot commercial building containing 1,700 square feet of retail and 2,600 square feet of eating and drinking establishment uses. While the proposed use is not consistent with the Northeast Area Plan land use recommendations, the development text and site plan demonstrate circulation and parking to the rear of the building with increased landscaping and street trees along Morse Road, consistent with the plan's guidelines and with the Morse Road Regional Commercial Overlay, landscaping and screening requirements. The requested CBD district is consistent with the zoning pattern and commercial context of Morse Road and does not add incompatible uses to the area. Additionally, the site plan demonstrates adequate buffering and screening from surrounding residential uses, and therefore city department's recommendation is for approval for commercial.
Well said. Okay, Dan.
Traffic impact study has been approved for this application. The scope of work has the existing pedestrian tractor beacon for crossing Morse Road is that. Signal will be installed at the intersection of Morse Road.
I have to say that I'm thrilled to hear a traffic solution spelled out to that degree at a night like this. Kathy, okay, is there anyone here to speak regarding this application tonight? There is no one. David?
Good evening, Development Commission. My name is Dave Perry. I'm here as agent for Mr. Tushar Patel. Mr. Patel is the owner and developer of the property. It's proposed to be zoned as stated by staff for a 4,300 square foot commercial building. Mr. Patel is a Dunkin' Donuts franchisee, so about 2/3 of the space, and the small retail tenant space would be the second tenant in the building. Site plan as depicted on your screen, and one interesting aspect of this to me is the signalization of Morse and Dunbridge. There is a pedestrian crossing on Morse with a beacon, but I've been on it from other work in the area, and you better hope the cars see the beacon. So the beacon will be removed, and Mr. Patel will be signalizing that Dunbridge and Morse intersection, and including crosswalks and full traffic signals. So it's a win-win for the neighborhood.
Good. It's also a win-win to have vitamin D handy.
Yes.
Donut.
We were talking about how good the coffee is at Dunkin' Donuts.
Any questions or comments? Okay, so.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes,
have one.
yes.
Dave, there's a neighborhood literally behind the site. How are these folks impacted by donuts cooking in early morning or the middle of the night? Not that I don't like donuts, but.
I imagine they're gonna be lined up in the morning.
Have they?
They were contacted, the property to the south on Dunbridge, south of the Dunbridge, right in, right out, was specifically contacted about selling the property and about the project, and he declined to be involved and does not object to the project. I know him from a number of years ago when I did the Goo Goo Car Wash directly across the street from him, and he was not opposed to the Goo Goo Car Wash either. To the south is a retaining wall and screening on top of it.
For what it's worth, Marty, I have somebody call me and they were actually more supportive of commercial going in at this location than an additional apartment building, which is it's zoned AR12 now, so.
That's interesting. Okay. And did you understand that it was one of the immediate neighbors?
It was the property directly to the south of the building.
The plan recommendation needs to be put in context. I believe the Northeast plan was 2005. That's a long time ago relative to Morse Road. And then about 2008 or 10 or so, the city put the regional commercial overlay on Morse Road, including this site designated as a residential site. So this has all the characteristics of Morse Road, not the residential site. And I think it would be problematic to try to develop high-density housing on a parcel.
Thank you for the information.
Okay. Just to call the roll.
Maria Conroy,
Yeah, I've seen that, the timing on that plan, and I agree. It's a yes.
John Ingwerson,
Yes.
Ann Woodway,
Yes.
Janice Keys Schenklin,
Yes, glad to see a light there.
Yes.
Marty Anderson,
Yes.
and Chair Fitzpatrick.
Always glad to see donuts there too. You are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Case number 9. Z22-024, 6841 Truck Hill.
The 0.81 acre site consists of one parcel developed with a car wash and automobile service facility in the CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The requested LC4 Limited Commercial District will permit additional commercial uses. The current CPD district limits the uses to only the existing uses. The intended use is an automobile leasing facility. North of the site are automotive maintenance facilities in the C4 Commercial District. To the east, across Rock Hill Court, is a shopping center in the C4 Commercial District. South of the site is a hotel in the C4 District. And to the west is an apartment complex in the ARLD Apartment Residential District. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Northland 1 Area Plan, which recommends community mixed use for this location, including retail, office, hotel, or institutional uses, with residential units located either above and or next to the uses which serve multiple neighborhoods. The limitation text includes use restrictions and supplemental standards that address traffic access and tree preservation. The site is located within the boundaries of the Northland Community Council, whose recommendation is for conditional approval, conditioned on additional use restrictions being added to the text. Not all of these restrictions have been incorporated into the limitation text at this time. The requested LC4 Limited Commercial District will allow the site to be repurposed for an automobile leasing facility, which is consistent with the established zoning and commercial development pattern in the area. The limitation text includes appropriate use restrictions and development standards, and the request is consistent with the Northland 1 Area Plan's recommendation for community mixed use. Therefore, the city department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Dan, do you have any comments?
No traffic issues.
Kathy?
No recreation parks issues.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak regarding this application? We have the area commission. Is there anything you'd like to add to what the staff's presentation portrayed?
Just to add, as I understand, the site previously was C4 zoning prior to being CPD, which was established to allow the car wash. So essentially kind of looking to more or less reestablish the prior zoning with some of the limitations that the Northland Council was looking for, minus the two, which being truck rentals and used car sales. Being that Enterprise is in the business of car sales and truck rentals as well. Not that those would specifically occur at this site, but just as a part of their business involved, they wouldn't necessarily want to limit themselves.
All right, let's have Dave Paul come up and add his input, and if you let him have a microphone there, and then we'll call you back and if you have any questions.
Thank you, Chair Fitzpatrick. Dave Paul, I chair the Northland Community Council Development Committee, and I'm happy to see you again tonight. We met with Mr. Jolly, representing the applicant, on April 27th of this year. We understood what the applicant is proposing to do in terms of repurposing this car wash, and generally we support the use. We felt that was a good repurposing of this site, and we understood how that presence of this facility would also probably benefit the community for the most part. We did have 3 conditions. 2 of the conditions I do see fully incorporated in the text. They simply were the addition of a striped crosswalk or pedestrian walkway as called for in the code to the site plan, and also bicycle parking spaces. We happen to have a member who looks for those on every application we hear. We encourage it. The only thing that we don't see, and Ms. Pine did mention it, is that we requested the applicant add 2 uses to the prohibited uses at this location. As Ms. Pine noted, it's truck, utility trailer, and RV sales, and used automobile sales. We do not feel, given the nature of this particular site, including adjoining parcels and so forth, that would be an appropriate place to locate a used car lot and or truck or utility sales. We don't think, frankly, there's enough space on this lot. If you look at the site plan, it's already a pretty congested site. And I'm not even sure, honestly, that they'd be able to obtain a state license to conduct automobile or truck sales, given the amount of square footage available. And also, as we understand it, the state prohibits those types of operations co-located with other uses. So whether they would bless this site or not, I don't know. But generally, we did not feel it was appropriate here. The applicant's representative explained, as he just did, that Enterprise isn't planning to engage in these uses here, but they think it's a line of business that they're engaged in. We tried to explain we're talking about the property, the site, the parcel. We're not talking about their business.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm not authorized to just sort of dispense with the committee's recommendation in that regard. So technically, that would mean that our recommendation would be for disapproval if they don't comply with our conditions. But I will add again, I think we support the use. We just think those conditions were not unreasonable, and we would ask the commission to consider them.
Okay, well, especially in the time, every time I turn on the TV, I see something about a automobile vending machine, or you call us up on the computer and we'll let you pick your color and we'll drive it up to you at your own house, and you don't have anything on this.
Amazon's going to start delivering cars.
Please don't go.
Yeah.
Well, I'm inundated on TV. All right, let's call the applicant back and talk about that condition. What's your feeling about those words being in this text? Dave brings up a good point, because not everybody has the same purpose in mind, and words have meaning. So we don't want to open up a Pandora's box for other precedent setting that we're not going for. This is a unique piece of property with a narrow stem and previous use. So give us your thoughts.
I think, the surrounding zoning is all C4, to the north of us, and to the east is all C4. So I don't think it would necessarily be out of line with what else would be permitted in the directly adjacent parcels of land. So I think that's kind of the main point there is consistent with what the surrounding use allows.
And you realize that what flashes through anybody's mind when they see some sentence that includes the letters RV, they think of a huge Winnebago pulled up there and parked for a long time, and kind of being an object d'art that's not to their liking, even though it's commercial uses can be loud and noisy and pressing, but that's not an unreasonable request to eliminate that. You could sell an RV without having it sitting there for somebody to drive by and peek down that long, narrow drive and try to see if that looked what they're after. And with the computer, it's like I mentioned earlier, there's all kinds of means and ways to illustrate what you have available to you somewhere. But I agree. I don't think this is the place to welcome vehicles of that size and nature. What's your response to that?
Chair, may I? Short comment.
Please.
I'd also like to know if staff would agree. As an accessory use, they might be able to sell an occasional truck or car.
Well, that's what I was just gonna suggest, is that the limitation text could be clearer, that says that, well, truck rental is in itself, something that if they did rent a Ford F-150, then that restriction would prohibit them from doing that. So maybe if the text was worded to say truck rental and or sale of fleet vehicles in conjunction with the automobile leasing business or something, automobile rental business, something to that effect. I think that kind of meets the spirit of what Northland is asking for, but it
Right.
doesn't restrict the car rental company from conducting normal business that they might have.
Yeah, I mean, you could sit at that table right there and sell 5 Winnebagos and a couple F-150s, never have any vehicles on your lot. So I don't think that's asking for the moon with with the comments that Shannon just voiced.
Yeah, I mean, if I can speak, I'm Jennifer, I'm with Enterprise with the company. Our goal isn't to ever put a exclusively truck rental branch there, or exclusively car sales branch. We know that doesn't work, but to your point, I think we don't want to limit ourselves in the future. We're going to buy this property, we're going to be here for a long time. Customers are moving to no touch, low touch, and we don't know what that looks like, right? And it may be, could we sell, a car or two from a location? And I know there's restrictions to that. Or what if we want to just rent a truck to a customer from this location? Maybe the truck doesn't even show up on the lot, right? So we don't want to limit our company's main lines of business with any property that we acquire. And that's our goal, not to ever have an exclusive car sales lot there, not to have an exclusive truck rental lot there. We don't rent and will not rent recreational type vehicles. It's box trucks and pickup trucks and cargo vans, those type of.
I think you could just state what RVs you would not display on the property. You can sell them, rent them with a computer document, and never even have a receipt in this world. But imagine, close your eyes and imagine, 3 or 4 Winnebagos and a couple box trucks lined up. It changes the whole dynamic of that piece of ground just because they're there. You don't need them there to make a deal. And I think auto dealers are finding that out more and more now. They don't have to have 5,000 cars sitting on the lot, eating up interest in order to make a deal. So, and this is a precedent-setting thing for other properties that are looking up and down different roadways in the city. So I think if you could say something about keeping vehicles on the lot would be prohibited. You can do transactions. It's a business event without having the physical beast on the lot. If somebody really likes what they see, they can go to a different location and kick the tires. But I think you're bringing a conflict in you don't need to bring by leaving it open that you park a bunch of these large vehicles on the lot just in case somebody wants to actually touch it and walk through it.
What if just a suggestion that you limit it to some gross vehicle weight? Nothing stored on the site above however many pounds, don't know, but I mean, I know that all the commercial stuff, they have it on the side of the truck.
Generally, your box trucks are 35 feet in length. It's kind of a yeah. So I mean, they wouldn't ever have vehicles larger than that, and that would just be maybe an occasional one-off truck that maybe someone was renting from a different distant location and moved to town. This is the next closest enterprise. I need to return it somewhere.
So that wouldn't even constitute a violation. I mean, if that happened, you deal with it before it ever caught anybody's mind anyway. So I think you can fine tune the words so that they do the job for you without being vague enough to where they open the door to people misusing it. So what'd you say that weight was?
Well, the weight of the length,
Like
actually, it's a 35-foot box truck is the largest that they would ever rent.
Okay. Dave, what's that do to you? 35-foot box truck.
Concern about that is the uses of a possible successor user of the site, owner of the site. Zoning will stay with land. Actually, is finished with it. Actually, end up with a used car lot there. Folks may be a lot less responsible than Enterprise.
Right.
They were able to get licensed for it, or likewise a truck. Big deal.
Yeah, the words have to be tightened up in order for this to.
Well, if they agree to be in conjunction with car rental business, then I think that closes that loop. And
I concur that would help, I think.
Yeah.
If it was somehow tied to this line of business as opposed to saying, you can use car lot here or a truck dealer. I think we would feel better about that.
And I think we would feel that would address our concern.
Okay. You're a car rental operation, you can occasionally get into a different vehicle, but they're not going to be displayed en masse on this piece of property. You like that word? You can put that in the text.
Well, I don't think we should restrict display. I think we
Right.
should just say
The
that,
access- the accessories.
that like they could add the, no RV sales, or rental to their text. And then they could just say that truck rental and used vehicle sales are in conjunction with the car rental business, similar to how we
As an accessory.
often say that with a new car dealership, used car sales are only permitted in conjunction with a new car dealership. So we could definitely work with the applicant on appropriate language that commercial zoning clearance will be
Yeah.
satisfied with and not be completely confused by.
Okay,
And we would have no issue knocking out recreational vehicles because the definition isn't.
Right, that's.
We don't have any issue with knocking that out.
And like a passenger van wouldn't be a recreational vehicle either. So I think, just thinking about the types of vehicles that enterprise typically rents, I think we can come up with some language that will satisfy, well, at least will somewhat address, I don't know if it'll completely satisfy Northland, but at least it will show city
Spirit,
council
yeah.
that they've kind of made a concession. So.
and it'll make it difficult for somebody to just say, well, you let them do it, so now you have to let us do it.
Right. Yeah.
Precedent,
The applicant and the staff for the additional work
right,
that incorporates the spirit of our.
all right, so
Text in the future.
we have one of the world's best wordsmiths right here at the table. And she will put together the proper language to reduce that to a simple, straightforward meaning. Put that in there, everybody will agree to that, and then you can go forward to city council. So let's set it, that's the condition to get you moving forward. All those in favor of that added motion that Shannon will craft? A motion to it. So move. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, please vote on the.
John Ingwerson,
Yes.
Kay McQuay,
Yes.
Denise Keys Shanklin,
Yeah.
Marty Anderson,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
Chair Fitzpatrick.
Yes, you're approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Case number 10, Z22-014 9190 on Terracing Drive.
The site consists of two undeveloped parcels in the LC4 Limited Commercial District and are located within two separate Delaware County tax districts. The applicant requests a CPD Commercial Plan Development District to permit the development of the site with a car washing facility. North and east of the site is a retail establishment in the LC4 Limited Commercial District. South of the site is a fast food restaurant in the LC4 Limited Commercial District. And west of the site is undeveloped land in the CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The site is within the boundaries of the Far North Area Plan, which recommends community mixed-use land use at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Far North Columbus Communities Coalition, whose recommendation is for approval. The CPD text contains use restrictions and supplemental development standards that address building and parking setbacks, traffic access, lot coverage, street trees, landscaping, loading areas, and exterior treatments to the building. A commitment to develop the site in accordance with site plan for a car wash facility is included in the text. Code modifications to an exclusive bypass lane, drive-up stacking spaces, and parking space area are included in the development text. Additionally, the text contains development standards of the site should the car wash development not occur. Proposed CPD Commercial Plan Development District permits the development of a car wash facility. The text includes appropriate use restrictions and development standards for both the car washing facility and general development standards should the car wash development not occur. The request is consistent with the Far North Area Plan's land use recommendation and includes a site plan that places the building along the Terrace Avenue frontage with parking and circulation to the rear, with appropriate site landscaping and additional street trees along Terrace Avenue, all consistent with the plan's design guidelines, and therefore city department's recommendation is for approval. Question?
Dan? Traffic.
All traffic issues have been resolved.
Kathy,
All our comments have been incorporated.
good. Is there anyone here to speak regarding this application? No. So Dave, you could put your temperature on this one and we'll be able to vote.
Good, thank you. Dave Perry as here for Moo Car Wash and NP Limited. Proposal is as stated by staff. This 2.5 acre site is part of the 1,400 acre Polaris Centers of Commerce commercial development that represents every commercial use, virtually every commercial use, and the proposal is to use this parcel for the car wash. This is the Moo Car Wash, which you're all familiar with from many times that the zonings have come through the commission. It's a single tunnel wash with attendance and open designated hours. So
Questions for the applicant?
They did a marketing study, right? Good. They're like a mile away from another Moon car wash.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a ton of office.
And a
buildings
Google
right
car
around
wash
here.
as well.
So there's
Crazy number.
This is the hardest street to find up from Polaris Parkway.
the traffic count in Polaris area is unbelievable. It's lots of big box, lots of office, lots of retail.
What?
Unless anybody has any other questions, I think we should call the roll and move on.
Are you abstaining from this? Are you
I'll
abstaining?
abstain from it.
Okay, I wasn't sure because you left the room, so I was a little confused.
Well, I have a listening device.
Okay. Kay McQuay,
Yes.
Denise Key Shanklin.
Yes.
Marty Anderson,
Yes.
Maria Conroy,
Yes.
and Acting Chair Ingwerson.
Yes, you're approved.
Great, thank you.
And you're sitting in the same seat.
Means something.
There's one more.
He has some new guys.
Have a feeling you might not be out the door. Okay, case number 11. Z22-026, 720 East Malvern Street.
0.94 acre site consists of 3 parcels developed with a funeral home and associated parking lots in the CPD commercial plan development district. Part of the site is also subject to the East Lum Street urban commercial overlay. The requested CPD commercial plan development district will allow redevelopment of the site with a mixed-use development consisting of 3 subareas. Subarea A will be developed with a mixed-use building containing 90 apartment units, up to 5,050 square feet of commercial use, and 50 enclosed parking spaces. Subarea B will be a 25-space parking lot. Subarea C will be a 24-space parking lot. Parking spaces within subareas B and C are solely for those uses occurring within subarea A. North of the site is a mix of single-unit dwellings in the R2F residential district. South of the site is a mix of residential and commercial uses in the R2F residential district and C4 commercial district. East of the site is a commercial building in the C4 commercial district, and west of the site is right-of-way for Interstate 71. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Near East Area Plan, which recommends high-density residential / mixed-use land uses at this location. The site is located within the boundaries of the Near East Area Commission, whose recommendation has not been received as of yet. The CPD text includes use restrictions, supplemental development standards for each sub-area addressing building and parking setbacks, traffic access, parking lot arrangement, screening, fencing, building materials, and a commitment to develop the site in accordance with the submitted site plan. Code modifications to interior parking lot landscaping, parking setbacks, C4 development limitations, maneuvering, parking space size, and a parking space reduction from 185 required to 99 provided spaces are included in the request. A parking study was reviewed and approved by the Division of Parking. Additionally, a right-of-way dedication exemption has been reviewed and granted along East Long Street. At the time this report was written, our recommendation was for disapproval. It is now for approval. The proposed CPD Commercial Plan Development District will permit a mixed-use development containing a building with 90 apartment units, 5,050 square feet of commercial use, and 50 enclosed parking spaces, with 2 dedicated parking lots containing 49 parking spaces. The CPD text establishes appropriate use restrictions and supplemental development standards that are comparable with other new mixed-use developments within urban neighborhoods. The proposed uses are consistent with the Near East Area Plan's land use recommendation for this location. The Planning Division has reviewed the revised site plan and conceptual elevations and are now in support. Those revised elevations and site plan are in your supplemental text. There's also an email in your supplemental text that the parking study has been reviewed and approved by our Division of Parking. Additionally, site access has been moved from Hamilton Avenue to Kiefer Avenue. Right-of-way dedication along Hamilton Avenue has been agreed to. Pedestrian access to the parking lots in sub-area B and C is provided. All of these revisions have led to a city department approval.
Okay, that's a bold undertaking. Traffic.
As Tim mentioned with the materials and
Okay, Kathy?
Recreation Parks has no comments.
Nope. Okay, questions or comments from anybody on the commission? Okay, are you folks here to speak regarding this application? Yes. All right, let's hear from them and then we'll call you back up to the table. Okay. Okay, Dan, Casey's got a question for you in the meantime.
Are we the them? Okay.
You're the them. I looked around the whole room and you're the only people.
All right.
On the traffic issue at the intersection of Elijah Pierce and East Long. Along East Long.
Is there a traffic light?
I know
Yeah.
there is traffic stop there. And there's always a conflict when someone is new on that road, because if you're headed east on East Long, there's always the tendency for the driver to continue, not knowing that it's a one-way stop.
Right.
Was that put into consideration in the traffic study?
That did not come into play with this proposed development. I believe ODOT is currently in the process of extending Elijah Pierce to the south to East Broad Street. And so the configuration of that intersection will be changed with that project. I don't have off the top of my head exactly what that's going to look like, but it should be changed with that project.
Okay, please give us your comments.
Who I am and what.
Who you are and why you're here.
Right, and I used to be on the school board, so I appreciate brief public comment. My name is James Ebright. I have lived in one of the pictured houses in there for the last 45 years. I submitted to Tim a written statement. The materials I got didn't show the 50 in the building parking spots. So some of the parking remarks I made in that testimony should probably be revised. But the point that I made there was also that this is an overdevelopment of the site. When I moved in 45 years ago, I was the only white guy in the neighborhood. It was about a week before any of the neighbors talked to me, and a man who later became known as Uncle Luther to my children came across and said the neighbors had all met, and they didn't like the idea of a white family moving in. could cause problems, but they decided that any neighborhood that was so bad that white people wouldn't live in was not a neighborhood they wanted to live in either. So they agreed that it was a good sign that we were there. I've always tried to be a good neighbor. I've always tried to work with folks. I would go to meetings at the plaza and I'd be the white guy who wasn't working for the city. The only one, the only white person who wasn't working for the city frequently. And after one of those meetings, one of the folks came by and thanked me for being there. I said, you know, we need people like you who can deal with people downtown, because otherwise we're just going to get run over. And I think to some extent that's what we're happening here. The neighborhood has become attractive. All of us in the neighborhood now have to have spam filters on our phone, or we are getting way too many phone calls from people trying to flip our houses. I have a degree in planning from MIT, believe it or not. Never practiced. I was a computer expert. Make more money doing computer stuff than you do planning stuff. But I've always kept my finger in. And one of the problems that I always foresaw for the neighborhood was it would become attractive, and the economic forces to make it into something that it's not now would be there. And that's what we're seeing here. This is a fairly grossly large development. There are no buildings in the neighborhood until you get to Broad Street that are this large. If you cross the freeway into the central business district, you go through Columbus State and the Columbus College of Art and Design before you get to anything that's as big as this. I mean, you know, this is a kind of development that does not seem to be appropriate for a neighborhood that is still predominantly houses. And if we want to put it there, fine. I mean, ultimately it means that my house will be wonderfully valuable because people will want to tear it down and put even bigger buildings up. But that'll be my heirs. I'm not going to do that. So I guess that I see this as too much in too small a spot. And that's the basics of what I'm talking about here. The area commission is meeting tonight. I don't know, the neighborhood people didn't get me a proper notice that they were having the local area commission zoning committee meeting, so I wasn't represented there, even though I used to be a member 30 years ago. I appreciate what you guys do. You know, it's something that most people in the background don't see, but zoning and planning really does affect how people live, how neighborhoods evolve, what happens in this world. And if we want to just maximize our commercial output, well, this is the kind of thing that we're going to see eating the residential neighborhoods all over the city. I don't think it's worked very well for the short north to scrimp on parking. And I don't think it's worked very well for campus to scrimp on parking. And the exemptions that people are getting here are a major scrimp on parking. So that's what I have to say, and I appreciate your time and attention.
Thank you. You're very experienced, it's very obvious. Okay, David. Question of intensity.
This is a LA Company's project Kelly Companies has multiple active projects in the NEAC area and other areas. And I think, well, commission members, I think you would agree with me that projects are going up. They're getting taller. And there's much less emphasis on parking than there used to be. And there is no interest in surface lots or demolition of buildings to create surface lots. This project has gone through right-of-way study issues with Daniel Moorhead, parking study with the Division of Parking Services. We have completed, one of the things I need to mention to you, we have completed 4 of the 5 NEAC meeting processes. There are a total of 4 commission meetings, and this particular site, East Long Street Corridor, is located in the Bronzeville neighborhood, and we met separately with Bronzeville. The project has had resounding support from NEAC and height specifically, and Bronzeville, from all community meetings. Just the timing of this meeting, and it's very important for Kelly Companies to complete zoning in July. And so we're just at that time of year where if this was a month ago, I would have completed the NEAC vote and that would be finished. But I can tell you from the 4 meetings that have occurred so far, there is very, very strong support. On the height has been specifically discussed with NEAC. And this is, by the way, I'm going to talk about architecture for a moment. This is Carrick Terrell, Columbus Design Company. Carrick is the project architect. This is a spectacular project at the entrance to NEAC at Long Street and the interstate. Height was discussed with NEAC and specifically supported by NEAC because of the location adjacent to the freeway. There's a lot happening. Yeah, thank you, Tim. There's a lot happening in NEAC. You've seen that by the number of applications coming through. Elijah Pierce Drive is to be extended. There's to be a cap similar to the Short North Cap. A cap connecting NEAC area and downtown is being planned, and so this has a considerable amount of support. And there have been large development projects similar to this. The Metropolitan Holdings building that you heard, project you heard a number of months ago, was 5 stories. So this is not unusual, and there's lots of 3-story buildings along the street.
Okay. Yeah, I think the die is cast. There's a lot of streets in Columbus where there's a step up. As long as it's done well, as long as you.
I'll add also this, the funeral home zoning, I think it was 1995, and this property, there's 3 parcels as Tim outlined, the building site and then the 2 offsite parking lots. And the funeral home is on the building site now, and the 2 offsite parking lots are not changing anything. They are currently surface parking lots from that 1995 zoning. The reason this comes before you is because that 1995 zoning is conditioned on the funeral home site plan. So the commercial zoning is in place, the parking lots are in place, and honestly, a spectacular building is planned by Kelly Companies.
Is this 80 feet vertical?
The CPD caps height at 80 feet. The building, that rendering is the west side. This, you're looking kind of Long Street as you're going over the interstate and crossing into NEAC. So Carrick has the 6-story areas adjacent to the freeway, and that center open area for all the apartments to have windows and open space and so on. It activates the Long Street corridor with the lobby to the building and the restaurant and patio at the corner and so on. So 85 is the cap. We're probably at about 75, 76, but it's set at 80 feet in the text.
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
One.
Arnie?
I have one question, and that, you had mentioned it, the tallest part is overlooking the freeway?
Yes, it's on the west side.
The
It is.
tallest
It's
part
not
is
the
not
side.
on
Side.
Hamilton.
It is not on Hamilton. It's on the 670 side.
It's not on really anything.
It's,
It's just on that
The
grass, the
It's on
grassy.
Elijah, it's on Elijah Pierce.
well, Elijah Pierce, and
Right.
if you know that area, the city did a really nice job of that. By 670 reconstruction, there's a nice sidewalk, there's parking on Elijah Pierce. There's the grass and landscaping areas along I-670. It was done very nicely.
Yeah, I think it'll be a catalyst for the whole area. Any other comments? Katie, you have any?
Yeah, looking at the elevation rendering, it looks awfully flat and bulky, but when you look at the rendering gives you some relief. But I'm trying to see the relief on the west side. It wouldn't have a better place facing the neighbor, which is the gateway building. To give it that relief instead of having a blank wall on the east side of the elevation. Your west side gives you that relief, which I think is good. It helps to break up the elevation, which is the lower right-hand corner. If that is facing gateway, I say well, interplay between the two volumes. And when you look at the east elevation, it looks very flat.
Well, it had, Eric, you respond to that. All the elevations have a lot of detailing, okay? Building relief and a lot of windows.
I know that's what is happening now. We have no choice in terms of scale of the building, but when you see the vertical relationship between the gateway and what is coming, that's a big change in height. It looked like it was completely designed in isolation to the neighbor.
So you're talking about the total mass of the building in relation to the adjacent buildings. In general, we're a little bit isolated from the neighborhood to the north because of the parking lots that will remain. So that creates separation from the single-family home area of this neighborhood. Obviously, to the west is a freeway. To the east is a fairly tall 3-story office building. Yes, it's bigger, but I think in general that's the direction that Columbus is going. If you look at the other developing near urban neighborhoods, the market pressure to add dwelling units is causing the buildings to get taller. So I don't think this is going to be the last 5 to 6 story building being proposed on Long and Broad and this neighborhood.
Yeah, your shadow lines don't get any further than the parking lot on the street, so you don't throw that shadow. That's one of the biggest concerns that comes up when
I think we certainly would have approached this site differently were there to be single-family homes directly across the street in any direction, but
Yeah.
there's not in this particular.
And the theater is only like a block from here.
Yeah, it's a block across the street.
I have a question about what type of housing, like subsidized, what type of.
So Michael Kelly would be able to speak to that in more depth. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here because of a COVID diagnosis. But it's primarily 1s and 2s. He will be applying for the CRA tax abatement, which comes along with it. What's the current legislation that's moving forward is 10%, 10% of the units have to meet 60% of the AMI. So there will be a spectrum of rent rates at this building.
Okay, and John?
One other, so what's the scoop with NEAC? Their meeting is tonight?
The meeting, meets,
Being heard there?
Shannon, thank you to Shannon, cured a lot of 6 PM and 6:30 PM conflicts with Development Commission and NEAC, but so it cured most of the conflicts except where we have one meeting left and it's tonight at 6:30, which is now after the meeting. So we will have a vote from NEAC later tonight. And if you wish to condition your motion on NEAC vote for approval, that's fine. That's what I'm anticipating later.
And we pretty much have to do that.
Yeah,
It's just a timing, John.
right, but you worked through their zoning group first, and then you've had preliminary
We've
work with
had,
them?
we've had 4 meetings so far. The NEAC process per se requires 4 meetings for new construction. And then if individual civic associations within NEAC want their own meeting, then they do that. So we've met with the NEAC Planning Committee, the NEAC Zoning Committee. The on-site zoning committee meeting was last Saturday, and we've met with the Bronzeville Civic Association, and all were supporting.
Okay.
So it will be concluded tonight, just unfortunately after this meeting.
All right, well, the condition is if you get voted down in that neighborhood meeting, then you have to come back and run through us again.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
A lot riding on what happens there, but we'll vote as though they're not in opposition.
Understood.
Okay, so we need a motion before we begin to introduce the language that we've introduced many times before, that because of the timing of that meeting and its vote, we will vote according to what we're looking at, as though there's no objection from the neighborhood, that you have a yes vote from the neighborhood. In light.
Chair, you've
Yeah.
also got, just making sure you remember there's a site plan and a text in your packet as well that will have to be included in the motion.
Yes. And the new text dated 6/9/22.
Site plan.
And the site plan that goes with it?
6/8.
6/8?
Or 6/9 as well.
6/9.
6/9? Everything's dated.
Section site plan dated today.
Okay, so the text and the site plan dated 6/9/22. And the timing conditions with the NEAC that we've dealt with before, you have to be approved by them, or you come back and see us again. Okay, a motion for those 2 factors. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's vote.
Denise Key Shanklin. Marty Anderson.
I'm a little uncomfortable with the condition. I would really like to hear from the area commission. Dave, I'm sure you're reporting exactly as the case may be. I'm kind of surprised that Bronzeville isn't here and that NEAC isn't here, even though I get it, their meetings, and I just think that's unfortunate timing. Let me vote a soft no only to assure the condition of NEAC, but the motion makes me a lot more comfortable.
Maria Conroy.
I think it's a really interesting and cool building. I don't like it for this site, and I'm voting no. I'm just gonna skip off gentrification for the rest of the life.
John Ingerson.
I'm going to vote yes. It's very ambitious. And I'm a little bit surprised that a building of this import doesn't have somebody from Bronzeville or NEAC here, even though they're meeting tonight. But if it's that important, I think it's that important to the neighborhood. Should be hearing from other groups other than a neighbor who's certainly going to be impacted by this building, but you know, I think we look at this as quite a gateway building that it's well executed.
And what, Greg?
Yeah, I know the neighborhood is changing, there's no question about that, but I think this architecture is heavy handed. It's a beautiful building otherwise, but taking into consideration what is happening to the housing market, I think I'm gonna go with very soft yes. But I would love to see a little bit architecture that is more respectful to the neighborhood than what we're getting.
And Chair Fitzpatrick.
Okay, I think, a long time ago, I inspected the building, the turret that Daimler built, probably 15 years ago, and I thought then, this is going to be a catalyst and things are going to really change in this neighborhood, and the theater's just basically catty corner from that building. And all this time has gone by, nothing else has happened right there. So I think this is an unbelievably unique situation with 2 parking lots, a freeway, and a building that can be intense without stepping on anybody's toes. I agree with Kay. If you could find some way to change materials or get some articulation on that west face that faces downtown with no obstructions. You got the freeway, you got Elijah King. If you could touch that up a little bit to soften it so it's not such a homogeneous mass, that would be a good thing. But I believe this is going to be a catalyst for this area right at the right place at the gateway. So I strongly vote yes for this and wish you the best of luck.
Very good, thank you. One question, Marty and staff, does your vote change to yes with a NEAC vote for approval?
I'm not sure it can, but that would be my intent, but I don't think that's really provided for unless we come back and meet again so that we can vote. I'm happy to write that. Sure.
You're still approved, even.
Yes.
Even without.
Yes, it's approved.
It's a fair question.
I think your comment was more procedural as opposed to objection to the project.
Somewhat procedural, a little bit substantive, depending upon what we have to do. I agree with Maria. There is some concern about gentrification, and I am concerned about the residents who are there now. It's not a perfect world, so I'll write that in my comments, though, that the NEAC approval would be quite important to me.
Yeah, sure. And we have to get the recommendation. Okay, well, thank you. The gentrification, that started 10 years ago. It's not
Well,
happening
yeah,
because of
but
this.
you're on the other side of 71, right? And I know the area. There are parts where everything around there is 2, 3, 4, and I know you need 5 to get the tax credit. And I get that. And, you know, maybe if it was a design more in keeping with what Kay was talking about, I get it. I do have a strong concern because of the nature of that neighborhood is also, it's been there a long time, right? And those houses, you know, this is still an area that has longtime residents, and you don't want them to lose all of a sudden their taxes just tripled, and, you know, what do you do? I understand the process. There are ways to keep neighbors. That's for the city. The city doesn't have a backbone to do it. Personally, that's my off the record comment. But that is not your fight to fight. I'm just looking at it in terms of its position. If it was, you know, on the other side, it just feels like it's pulling it to an area that's less intense, and that feels more intense. That's where I'm at.
with the Elijah Pierce extension and construction of caps, this area is changing a lot.
Yep,
It already has. I mean, the last 5 years, I've probably had 20 projects in Indiana and others have handled.
Yep. And I've been here for about, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Good luck. This is different.
All those in favor of staying here another 2 hours? Vote no.
Legislation allows for buyout of all units.
Yeah.
Whereas before they were certain, and now what? It, they are.
Yes.